We feel that this is at the centre of the entrepreneurial struggle. Many are also unaware that it is, as they clamber to keep up with the latest copywriting trend, algorithmic amplifier, or way to package what they have for shortening attention spans, cutting, slicing, hacking, and making a Frankenstein's monster of their creative seed before it even has a chance to break from its shell. It is a profound challenge as the modern world is not catered for authentic expression. It delineates the lowest common denominator as interest is predicated on attention, and attention is held more often in a psyche that has been flooded with dopamine. As this happens over and over again, the bar is raised until it becomes harder and harder to achieve this hit, and it is craved more often and more intensely. Creativity responds in kind, cutting back its spontaneous bubbling until it feels little more than a slave being milked in the cogs of a machine. It can be profoundly distressing for the spirit, and we simply wish to acknowledge that despite claims in the collective that it's choosing to uplift the creator, the shadows that lie present in the underworld of the human psyche suffocate more than you would realize on face value and the glamour of things. Glamour is part of the problem here. Glamour as a word has its foundation in spell, enchantment, and bewitchment, and on the whole, individuals would rather see what's false and comforting or encouraging than true, but a harder path to step upon. We are not saying that true is always hard, but it can be to a mind that is used to comfort, or in this case, glamour, the shimmering, the spell of this can be true if you want it to be true. We wish to share that art does not lie in this direction because the purpose of art is healing, and healing is the extraction of false narratives from the human experience. It is literally the dissolution of one's believed and expected reality. It's the end of waking up safe in a world of comfort and restriction. This is the purpose of true art. If one's psyche is not set up for at least the understanding that this is a path one is treading on in order to vibrate higher into the fullness of who they are and the truth of their highest reality, then any authentic art can often feel like a punch in the guts, a deception, and of course they will not be ready for it because the world told them to expect, no command, such privileges of their reality. Little knowing this glamour only serves to create a weakness of spirit and an entropy in their spark for expansion, which is their natural state of being. It serves an important purpose for us to lay out the scene here, for it's important for you to understand the field you are playing in. You're not playing in a field which has been set up for true art on the whole to win. True art will, for the most part, fall upon deaf ears, or only have a few die-hard fans who have signed up in their own way for the hard path of healing and having their lenses for reality smashed over and over again. They are game, or an aspect of your art resonates so deeply within the center of their essence that they simply cannot help but be stirred into motion by what you share. It speaks to a deeper truth within them, if they and you are lucky enough for your paths to meet in a world which unknowingly is trying to keep you apart because of the enticement of glamour, the spell sells, eyes, attention, investment, the promise of more. And so we return to the success you will experience in this world. How is it possible? The first thing we would say is that it's possible that you won't see the success that has been perhaps sold to you in your mind of glamorous yachts, endless glittering freedom on empty beaches, and more money than you could ever hope to spend. That is not the path of the artist, simply because it cannot be promised. That doesn't mean it cannot happen, it just means it's not the path of a 10-step process to guaranteed freedom, because on the whole, such processes are precisely what choke the life out of the creative spark. The path of the artist is simply what it is, and reward to the extent of promised millions simply cannot be honestly made. What can be honestly promised to the true artist is one of creative fulfillment, honesty to one's true self, and a deep knowledge that one isn't betraying oneself, however convincingly, for the green dollar. It's not easy. What can be said for the true artist, if she finds consistency in her creations and a medium upon which to share them, she will find a following of die-hard fans. We mean die-hard because that's what true art does when it touches the soul of a human. It calls them home. What does this look like alongside skills or tactics, approaches such as copy or landing pages, funnels and messaging, email sequences and click-through rates, calls to action and sales pages? How does it all rest together? the established framework of conversion, the ask, and the pure, unbridled expression of spirit. We would say, quite merrily, if the spark of creativity rests upon the throne and is trusted. This is the problem with true art. It hurts the conscious mind and its established structures of what's intentful, purposeful, and is known, as in already established, to work. It doesn't matter if it was or wasn't you who conveyed to the mind that it works. Allow us to offer a solid example here. Imagine your creative flair longs to share with the collective the healing power of a common garden herb and plants which can be easily grown in the average garden. Your soul is longing to bring forward this offering, these findings you've learned about, into the world. The quote-unquote lost self would start with a funnel. It would shape and bend and twist the forming idea into a funnel, working backwards from what would sell most units, which price point would support delivery and optimization of business services development, how it could lead to future upsells and downsells, and so on. But the artist has committed to her craft first, and the deepest expression of love she can possibly open to the world. She realizes that whilst, yes, a 6-week, carefully planned evergreen-style course would sell the most because she's learned this fact, perhaps tried it, seen results in the past, etc., that's not where her soul is calling her. She longs for continued touch points, for real-life meetups, for the opportunity to drop in new wisdom as and when it arrives, to be able to actually paint the herbs and offer flashcards which her students can pull from in quick, easily searchable catalogues. She knows what sells, but she also knows where her true art, her true service is calling her, and she's not willing to sacrifice her heart for money. Can she use funnels and formulas, scripts and strategy? Yes, to the extent that her creative soul leads and, most importantly, isn't sucked dry in the process. Her spirit guides the tools. The tools don't guide her spirit. But what if the true art and how she longs to deliver it simply doesn't sell at all? No one buys, no one gets it, no one understands. It's a very real possibility, we aren't going to lie, but the true artist, as we've shared, simply won't betray herself, and importantly, she realizes in these moments of failure and abject doubt about her worthiness that it's nothing to do with her, as in her essence, for all creations were not designed to find their perfect match in currency. Can you understand this? We feel you have missed this over and over again, for creation doesn't vibrate at the precise same level as fiat currency. We feel to believe this is absolutely absurd and something that so many creators are misunderstanding, especially the spiritual ones who say, "But I listened to my higher self and it didn't earn me any more money," and thereby decree that from then on, it's far better to not listen to their soul and follow the path of cash and the advice or vibration of people with loads of cash, but unknowingly to them, no soul. The two are not interdependent, and the two are also not correlated. Sometimes a path of soul is flooded with cash, other times it's utterly barren of it. That doesn't mean that the path of the soul is right or wrong, it just means the path of the soul is simply the path of the soul, and you can choose to follow it or not, independent of what the activation of wealth is along it. This is a sad moment for many. It breaks the lenses of wealth and business that have perhaps been glamorously created and fitted upon the face by others, often well-meaningly. But allow us to share the good news along this trajectory we're leading you. If you truly commit to the art, the service, the expression, the offering that lies inside of you, and you decouple it completely from money, then you will have no opting out option for abandoning your soul's creative path. For that's the problem here, is it not? You don't know how to be creative, how you really want to be creative, and make money, and we are saying to you, you mightn't always be able to have both, but that's okay. You can allow that to be okay. For the second that it's not okay, then the creative spark becomes a slave and it begins its steady downward spiral into dormancy and death. We want you to understand this. Your creative soul cannot have conditions laid upon it for how it ought to come out, or it will retreat. It's just the way reality works. It might take a certain period of time for this to occur. Maybe you think you've cracked it, but you will soon see, as is the way, you will pay the price. This isn't bad, it's just how reality works. What's needed is a continuous faith in yourself and your creative fire, that it will deliver enough for you to survive and yes, perhaps to thrive, but certainly not to die. This is the issue, is it not, if we venture a layer deeper here? It feels that to commit to your soul's creative fire is to spell certain death in this life, through the slow drying up of resources, through perpetual ignoring, through ostracism from the platforms which support your very living. It's a high price, it feels, to commit to your soul's fire when in a human body. It's as though you are being pulled in two, and we would say, because we went through the very same journey as a Pleiadian nation some super eons ago before we, as a collective, decided finally to overhaul our material world to track alongside the more powerful world of spirit, not the other way round. That the creative fire, creation itself as flowing through you, does not have an impulse toward death. It might not vibrate in such a way with current human structures to mean vast riches, but it most certainly does not spell death. We can, however, very confidently share with you what does spell death. The straddling of two worlds, one half in one's creative spirit and the other half subscribing to the structures and pathways of the material world, the filters, the funnel, the 10 steps to 1 million with your genius, and so on. We might call this the grey road. It is a pathway that flakes out creative juice like a pumpkin being carved out to fit in nicely with the model of the funnel structure, one that feeds the machine first, then hopes there's enough fire to keep one's creative spirit alive for the journey. This is the grey road, a space in the mist, the living hell. You can draw breath in the space, but you don't feel alive. We feel sad that you may feel a twang in your heart, perhaps a loss that you can't have both, full creative authenticity and vibrant financial wealth. And we aren't saying that you can't have both. We are saying that you might not have both because the two worlds don't track each other like a shadow tracks its person without fail. But that's not a reason to abandon the creative spirit of your soul and her expression. We want to offer that your creative spirit, your maximum self, the part of you that when committed to feels like she breathes life and flame into the experience of being alive, simply wouldn't let you die. It's just not how it works. It wouldn't happen. The half space we described earlier would, but the arrival into the whole space of creative commitment simply wouldn't. Allow us to break down the complete energetics of this. The first way, mechanized, livable creativity. The mechanized 5-step follow the system process, if committed to and followed without question, will likely create money, provided it doesn't absolutely choke off and ruin your creative ability to express, resulting in a collapse of self to express at all. If a balance of leading with creative flair and allowing the structures to guide and teach you can be found, and too much sacrifice doesn't need to be made, you can find a peace in this space. Often because there is safety to be found in structure to a logical mind, and money can reliably flow from this space. It's not a bad place to be in for certain people if their creative life doesn't suffer disproportionately in the adopting of mechanization of creativity. The second way, the grey road. The tepid following of structure, half applying it, half resisting it, when overlaid with creativity that is terrified of constraint and feels a trap as slavery it is being coaxed into, will lead into a half-life of wealth and a half-life of creative existence. Avoid this at all costs. Either surrender fully into the next phase or find a way to live in the previous phase. Nothing but death awaits you in this space. Death of the creative fire and the mind-feared death of having little to no resources as a human being. Leave this grey space and never allow yourself to return. The third way, creative fire leads, come what may. The space we feel you are destined for, but it is the braver path. The path of full creative commitment. The path where the soul's creative fire blazes and authentically offers to either full reception or crickets, or anywhere in between, who knows, but never entered into or left with an empty heart, because the self, lowercase s, has committed to the self, uppercase s. There can be no emptiness in this space, if that true commitment is honoured, come what may. Fear can exist here if one loses faith, or believes reality won't support one's needs enough to survive well. Yet, when one commits to this path, somehow, some way, one is always supported. Sure, maybe you don't make millions, or maybe you will eventually. It doesn't matter, because the richness you feel comes from communion with the soul and releasing resistance to our creative materializations. You simply have to trust that you won't die along this path. All we can offer is that the nature of reality simply wouldn't let that happen. If you feel that you have evidence of someone committing to their true artist path and they did die or lost everything and have to barely survive with meager resources and an emptiness of spirit, we can assure you that they took the grey road. It is law. How can one know for sure if one is walking the path of the creative spirit and not the grey road? You cannot. What? You say? That sounds ridiculously risky. And it is. The odds are not stacked in your favour along this road, but we can say that you drift into the energetics of the grey road and the energetics of the creative road daily, hourly, minute by minute, second by second, with enough continued honouring of the creative road. This will be the road that you are always on. If there is one thing we can offer as the most important concept for you to truly learn and integrate from this video, we want it to be this. Unless and until you decide and find a way to decouple your creative fire from your monetary income, you will continue to feel like you are trapped, a slave, powerless at worst, and limited to the confines of the yard when there is a whole world out there at best. We are not in this video offering you the way to decouple yourself from money, only that you need to do it. Perhaps in a later video we will share around this concept to support you. For now, your only task is to decide consciously which of the 3 paths you will walk. The mechanized, though likely more financially abundant path of edited creative freedom and finding a way to make it work as best you can. The grey road of neither creative satisfaction nor committing to the 5-step process to wealth from your gift or whatever else may be offered to you with a similar promise. Or the creative path, one that honours and fully commits the soul, but that it's absolutely Russian roulette as to whether money will be abundantly made along it, though your survival, even if it's by last-minute means or left-field opportunities or offerings, will always be guaranteed along it. Your faith along this path will be challenged a lot as you walk it. Let us say that unless you make the conscious choice, you are likely to end up on the grey road, which isn't bad, it will just hurt. You never end up with one or the other, neither creative fulfillment nor abundant financial income. It's a truly painful place to be as a business owner and a creator, for neither wins. Sit with this as it's an important decision to make. Most humans, we would say, are either on path 1 or path 2. Few are on path 3, being fully led by their creative spirit because either A, they lost touch with it, B, their faith was tried and they caved to one of the other roads, or C, because the pull of the mechanization was just too loud, appealing and glamorous that they simply had to chase down path 1, whether or not they managed to land on it or not. This is the truth of reality that we are offering you, and nothing else. It's your choice what you decide to do with it. We set out in this video to orient you to context. In fact, we feel that is mostly what we shall do in our shares, because if you know where you are and how you got there, you have a fighting chance of finding your way to where you want to be. Most offer you the path and the path alone, but if you don't know where you are and you misstep along a prescribed path, you will, sadly, find yourself lost again. We do not want that for you. Look around, orient to where you are. Now you know the context. Now you know the various paths you could choose and where each one leads to, along with the pitfalls and rewards along each. Which do you choose? That's all we want for you today, is to choose, because if you don't consciously choose, your unconscious will choose for you, and the unconscious can be a very unpredictable and unreliable place to choose from. We love you. Take back your power here. Your journey awaits. The Pleiadian Council of Light.